Hello, I'm Mary Baker. I'm a library associate with the Brunswick Library, and welcome to Create with the Library. As you can tell with that full bookcase of supplies behind me, I like to craft. So today we're going to do a craft that involves alcohol ink, candles, saran wrap, and that's it to make an absolutely gorgeous craft. We're ready to go. As you can see, the supplies are very simple. I've got plastic wrap. Don't even need a huge sheet, just big enough to cover your candles. I've got my candles, gloves. You can see these gloves have been around the block a couple of times. Gloves are really important when dealing with alcohol ink. The ink will definitely stain. It will not only stain your hands, it'll stain your clothes, it'll stain your carpet. So make sure you're in a nice surface that you can clean up if you need to. And then, of course, I have my inks. I generally like to limit myself to 3 colors. That kind of keeps things from getting too muddy. In this case, I decided to do 3 colors that are very similar, so they aren't going to muddy each other very much. And then I've got a really bright color to use as kind of an accent. So I did go with 4. I've also got one other thing. I've got a mixative here today. This is a gold mixative. I'm hoping that'll give my candles a little bit of sparkle. And that's a little bit different from the ink. We will talk about that when we get started. Other little pro tip, I recommend putting a little bit of whiteout on each cap of your ink, and then putting, once it dries, a little dab of the ink on there, then you know which cap goes with each bottle. It kind of keeps your ink cleaner. So, starting the project, very simple. All you're going to be doing is popping some ink down on your saran wrap. I'm not being careful about it. I just kind of want to have coverage all over. Here we go. I should talk about my colors. My first one was Sailboat Blue. The second one is Citrus. This one is called Dandelion. And then my bright red is called Wild Plum. If anything's going to cause a little bit of muddy, it's going to be this Wild Plum. So I'm going to be a little bit more careful. I'm not going to put quite as much on that. Maybe one more drop right there. And I don't want it to run and create browns. And then finally, I've got my mixative. You can hear that ball inside there. It's because the gold actually is like a gold flake that's on the bottom. And that little ball inside helps mix that up. You can see that the inks are all spreading out. This is going to act a little bit differently. It's not going to spread anywhere near as much as the other inks do. It's a little bit different. It acts, it's got some resins in it, and so it behaves a little bit differently. Next, our candle. And the important thing when you're putting your candle down on your saran wrap is you want to make sure that the entire candle is covered. So I'm going to start it back in this area, but I'm going to wrap it up a little bit before I start wrapping the plastic around, because I don't want any of this covered with plastic instead of color. So now I've got a little bit of color on this. Roll it forward a little bit so I've got color everywhere. And now I'm going to wrap it up. And that is all there is to this craft. Very simple. I'm going to twist the top. I'm going to twist the bottom. You can see I obviously didn't leave enough at the bottom, so I'm going to try this one more time so that we have 2 samples that we can compare. And then you're going to let this dry. You're going to let it dry overnight, and in the morning we'll unwrap it and we'll take a look at our results. Good morning. Welcome back. It's been about 24 hours, and that's given the candles a little time to dry. You will find that the candles will be a little bit tacky when you first unwrap them, but when they've had a little chance to sit out in the air, they will be completely dry to the touch in an hour or two. You can see that I've got a few that I have done earlier. This one here, these were done with the same colors that we used yesterday, but because of the way the saran wrap was placed on it, you can see it's got a little bit of a softer effect to it. That was kind of, the saran wrap was kind of mushed around it. This one has got a lot more veining to it, and that one is done just by the twisting of the ends and just leaving it set. And when you do leave it set, try and leave them so that they're sitting upright, so they can dry upright. That will keep your alcohol ink from just pooling on one side and getting a dark blob on one side. But let's unwrap the one that we did yesterday. Take a look and see how that one looks. Unwrapping saran wrap with gloves on is always fun, so I did kind of cheat and do that ahead of time. But that's the way this one looks. You've got some of the veining at the bottom. You've got a little bit of the mushing at the top. You can see I've got a little bit of the gold. That's given it a little bit of a muted effect. Unfortunately, you can't see the colors as well on this. It's really much brighter than it's looking right now on my computer. But bottom line, very simple. A candle, some ink, some plastic wrap, and you can make yourself some beautiful candles to complement your table. Thank you for joining us with Create with the Library, and we look forward to seeing you again.